Okay, I think we're live.
All right, we are here busting open quarantine. Why? Well, because we're both vaccinated. It's summer 2021. It has been 1 year, almost exactly, since we did the quarantine edition episode where we just talked about random things. So
to be fair, it'll be summer in exactly less than 20 days. I guess 15 days. I'm not sure when the solstice falls this year. We're still technically in spring, but
well,
it was 90 degrees out today.
Memorial Day happened, so that's the unofficial start of summer, I guess.
So what can we say? We are here live in my basement.
We are here in person, in front of a camera,
occasion.
using the same camera we used like 4 years ago because you didn't get one yet, and neither did I.
We're streaming for the first time off of my new PC.
Yes. Off of a new replacement graphics card that might cut out on us at any time.
If we do just randomly shut down in the middle of this thing, just know, blame whoever gave John this graphics card in the first place.
You know what?
I got it from him.
I didn't click record on.
Yeah,
you didn't open Audition. Where's Audition? So, once again, hold on, that's going to mess me up if we're looking at our own stream. So, since no one's watching anyway.
It's pretty low stakes. I mean, we've been live for officially 8 minutes at this point. Most of that was standby.
This is the Utterly Nonsense Breaks Quarantine Edition podcast. Why? Because, well, whoever's listening to this can't see it, but we are live on Facebook right now at the same location in this dank, dark basement. I feel like it's Wayne's World, right? Like I'm Mike Myers and you're...
party time, excellent. Why am I Garth in that situation?
I don't know. Or is Jay and Silent Bob?
Am I Jay or Silent Bob?
Well, I have the long hair and the hat, so who would I be?
I've got long hair too, but both of them have long hair, so what does that prove?
We'll leave it up
that
to you.
That makes you Silent Bob, but I feel like you never shut the fuck up, so that makes you Jay, right? Okay, so what else should we do to preface this before we actually get into the meat of why we're here?
Why are we here? You invited me.
Oh, that's right.
Did you want me to leave?
I mean, at some point, it's 8 p.m. When do you think you're leaving?
Yeah. So about a year ago, we did the quarantine edition episode. We just titled it that for fun, where we talked about a bunch of random things, and that's what we'll do today because I have no notes, we have no plan. That's how we do it here. Completely random, utter nonsense.
So, I know you wanted to talk about Army of the Dead. I've only seen the first half.
Right.
We can dive into that, and I can talk to you about my thoughts so far. We obviously did our whole, long... I think it was actually 2 hours long in the live edition of our last live...
That's right. The last live one we did was about the Snyder Cut, and it was actually like 1 hour and 36 minutes, if I remember correctly.
I remember it just being under 2 hours, but it's streamed to Twitch. Yeah. I'm not sure what the exact time.
Well, I just looked at it, so I'm pretty sure it was like 1 hour 36. But yeah, we talked all about that, the whole situation with Zack Snyder. So this whole time, while HBO Max had him working on, doing all the post stuff for Snyder Cut, he's been working on a different film, which is his own zombie movie, a second one for him, Army of the Dead, and the first one was Dawn of the Dead, which I have seen, and the original, but I barely remember them. But I will say, just to preface this, don't get mad, I like Dawn of the Dead better. I think it was more well-made, for a specific reason.
I will say, I think he takes it a little more seriously, right? Like, Army of the Dead was meant to be more easygoing. It's meant to be something that you're just, lounging, you're watching it on Netflix on a, lazy Sunday. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, it has its serious situations. Like, there's the whole thing with the guy and the woman who I guess is it's his baby mama. It's kind of a spoiler for Dawn of the Dead, but it results in a disturbing sequence, to say the least. But yeah, that one is kind of more horror, survival, action-oriented, and then the original Dawn of the Dead is kind of not tongue-in-cheek, but it's sort of satirical in a way. It's a different tone. And the zombies are different. They're slow in the original. In the new one, they run around. In Army of the Dead, they're slow, and there's ones that run around. Because there's a whole hierarchy of them.
I mean, you have this whole class of the zombies that are just, like clearly more intelligent, clearly, they're the rulers, whereas these, like,
Yeah.
newer zombies are just like the underlings that feed and are just rabid.
There's like the Monarch one, who is the spoiler if you haven't started watching it, the alien.
I haven't gone that far in it, but
No, that's right at the beginning.
It's like, do they really like?
So right at the beginning, they hint at it so much. Like when the two military guys in the truck are talking, like he's like, you know where we're coming from, right? It's hinted that it's Area 51, and they're like, you know what this is? You know what it could be? Is like, is that? And then and then before they crash, they say it's an.
Well, see, I took that to mean it's a misdirect, right? Like, these guys don't know what's going on here.
There's another detail.
Prefacing that it's an alien invasion when really it's a zombie. It's the start of this mysterious infection.
So there's one other detail which you may not have caught, because I almost didn't catch it. I thought my monitor was like having a pixel attack or something. But I went back, I paused it, and if you look, when the trucks are pulling out of the base, there's two little lights hovering in the sky, and as the trucks pull out, they go boom, boom off the screen. And that's the only hint you get, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be that this is an alien. It's a space infection.
Well, that is intriguing.
You didn't know that, but it's not a spoiler, because you watched it and you didn't realize.
Well, does it actually mention that anywhere else in the film? No. Like, is there any hard confirmation?
Not at all.
So, can we really say it's aliens, or is that just like one inference from an Easter egg?
Well, knowing Zack Snyder and the way he thinks, I'm pretty sure he would say something like this. Well, I mean, I thought it was cool if they just put a little hint in there, just a little hint that it may be something that we could, spin off into a prequel anime, a sequel, probably a manga, a video game franchise.
Well, we know it's already getting a prequel.
Yeah, which I feel like is like there's going under the impression that they're going to be able to set all this up, that people will be with it before it even came out. So there's a lot of things in that where this movie kind of hints to a broader world that they could delve into, but it's like you gotta invest me in it first before I'm willing to be on board with that. And so the whole first sequence of the movie is like it's almost like Suicide Squad, right? Like you have not exactly Suicide Squad, but it's like in serious. They have the big band music playing by Richard Cheese, if you know him. He does kind of funny parody music. That's probably trivializing what he does, but it's good. Check him out. So he does that. There's the whole Vegas thing, and you see you see the infection spread.
Right.
And I was hoping that would kind of be the movie, like while this chaos is happening.
You didn't want it to be all like post this whatever epidemic, right?
Like I wanted to see while all the chaos is happening, before all of the shit hits the fan, that's when they go and do the heist. And, well, it's Vegas. The theme of the movie is Vegas, and again, I don't think this is really a spoiler. They don't really utilize the elements of, like, Vegas. The things you would think of that, and casinos and big landmarks, they're all just kind of in the background sometimes, but they're not at the forefront, so why have it set in Vegas?
No, I mean, you definitely get the sense that it's just, like, a zombie movie. It's more of a heist film than anything else, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like they do give it the sort of Vegas setting at the very like forefront of the movie, right? But for the most part, it could just take place in any generic city. It's just the fact that they're going after this money, they're going after this rich Japanese dude's fortune. That's really the crux of it, right? Like nothing really besides the very beginning of the movie would signify that it's taking place in Vegas.
Yeah. That's pretty much like. I mean, there are other things that you find out at the end where you're like, really? But I mean, other than that, it has like this horror. I guess I don't know if it's a horror movie specifically trope, but this movie trope where, as the plot progresses, as they're getting closer to their objective, there's just more and more peril happening. Like, what else could go wrong? This goes wrong, and then this goes wrong, and then and it's like, oh god, it's ridiculous. Come on. But now you've seen the character, and at this point, I already hated her. His daughter, her. She
strikes me as being a little self-righteous, a little full of herself.
She's such a stupid little. Yeah. I won't even say on this stream. We're gonna keep it easy, relaxed. PG. But she is
already sworn multiple times, but it's still PG.
Such a little brat. Like she's like, no, I have to go for this random woman, for this random family that
My mother died. That means I have to die too.
I didn't think it was even her real dad at first because she called him by name. I'm like, is that her stepdad or something?
No, you sort of get the sense that there's some sort of abandonment issues there, that she's just sort of lost faith in him, or something.
But like, she's almost the cause of everything going wrong. It's like, now he has to protect her, and he has to have that in the back of his mind, and she's useless. She doesn't do anything. Why have that there? It's just, again, to add more peril.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a major fault.
So, what do you think of the future of this film? Like, they've already said that prequel's coming, starring the German dude from this film. He's also directing the sequel, so... prequel. Sorry.
Yeah, well, there's clearly a bunch of characters who are just kind of in it, and we don't see too much of them really utilized. Like, this guy's, safe breaker, code breaker, whatever he is.
Yeah, I mean... Look, again, I've only watched the first half of the film. Has he actually, does he play an important purpose when they actually get to the fortune and get to the safe? Or?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, his role is to open the safe, and, there is that scene. There's the YouTube guys, I guess.
Oh, yeah, the guys who just kill zombies on, they're basically the Jake Pauls of
What was the last thing you saw of them?
Honestly, I can't remember. It's like 2 weeks ago.
Did you get to the part where they're all walking in that, I don't know what it was, like a warehouse or something, or a lobby, where they're all like, they're lighting the way with glow sticks?
Yeah, I got there.
I got
to the very end of that scene, yeah.
Did you see what goes on with the woman character?
Yeah. I don't know how much you want to spoil for our 3 viewers, but...
Hey, that's 3 more than we had a minute ago. So, okay, here's the thing. So he's like supposed to be some kind of expert killer, right? Because he obviously does all these videos where he does it. And then there's this lady. She says, "Oh, I've never killed a zombie in my life." All right, but she's clearly good with weapons,
right?
So there's this whole action sequence where she's like kicking ass, and then I'm going to assume you got to the end of that scene. So
I think I did.
If you haven't seen that, whatever. Like, she pops out, like, you think she's a goner. But then she pops out of the window, and they're all, like, right there, and it's like, go save her! What are you doing? And they just leave it there.
That I do remember.
Why?
Well, it seemed like the one guy had some sort of vendetta against her, right? Like, he literally just wanted this chick to die for some fucking reason.
Yeah, well, he's clearly got an alternative motive, because he said, I'm appointed by the Japanese guy, who is Scorpion. He's Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
I thought he looked familiar. I knew he was been in a few things, yeah. Yeah,
so he's probably gonna clearly trying to sabotage them. That's no spoiler.
Okay, so look, again, I haven't seen most of the film. I'm watching the second half probably sometime this weekend, but
set your expectations low is what I'll say.
As far as entertainment value, do you think it was a fun movie? Do you think it was worth watching? Do you think it was worthy of Zack Snyder's talent?
So there are a few funny visual aspects of it, because have you noticed there's a very shallow depth of field to almost the whole film?
I did notice that, yeah.
That kind of bothers me. Because it's like, anytime I want to look at something, it's always right in someone's face, and then it has to turn a little bit, and then it'll almost focus on something else. But I don't know if that's to make it feel claustrophobic or something, but that kind of... I mean, he didn't do that in other movies I've seen.
No, I mean, well, part of it is because, like, he's taking over the cinematography.
Yeah, he's the director of photography on this, too. He's, like, a whole bunch of roles.
So, to his credit, it's his first movie in that role, right? Honestly, for a first-time director of photography, it's not a bad effort, right? I actually do think, visually, what I've seen of this film so far, it's on par with some of his other work. But, again, as like a popcorn movie, as just like something I'm watching as on a lazy Friday or Sunday night, it's entertaining. I'm not putting too much credence on.
I think it's a little too long for something that's like that.
Yeah, it's like close to
what? It's like 2.5 hours. Yeah. It should be under 2, definitely.
Yeah. So, barring the prequel, do you think this German character, this code breaker, could like lead a prequel?
I have to say, I don't know. I kind of don't care, because like a lot of the characters kind of just had a little shtick about them. But then other than that, they're kind of one note, and they just serve the one purpose, and then they're gone.
So it's every other heist movie.
Funny thing we didn't even mention. So Chris D'Elia, who I didn't know until the scandal got out.
Take no terror. I will say, I know because you made the same point over our Discord server like a while ago. Yeah, she's basically indistinguishable. You wouldn't be able to realize she was shot entirely from.
I didn't even know until I started. Like, I looked it up. I don't even remember why I looked it up, but I started watching the movie. And I got like him. I went halfway through and then watched the rest later. And then I found out afterward that she was actually like filmed on a green screen the whole time and put in post. I was like, I didn't notice.
I will say
that is very technically well done.
Because I knew that she was shot in front of a green screen before I went into this thing. I sort of had that mentality going in. I thought going into this thing, should I look for this girl in front of a green screen? Should I be aware that she's like not actually interacting with the rest of the cast?
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, it's pretty fluid. Like, I think if you went into this thing completely ignorant, it would be pretty seamless, right? Like, it was actually a pretty impressive technical achievement.
Yeah, I'll say that's probably the biggest credit I can give to the film is that, because I don't know, I just find that amazing. Is that something that's really easy nowadays? I don't even know.
I mean, I think we're getting there, but of course, like, talents are always going to want to interact with one another.
Yeah. I mean, like, you get the end fight scene in Avengers Endgame where they're all kind of shot individually and put in, but that's a whole CG sequence, whereas this is actual locations. But then the rest is all lighting tricks to get her to look like she's actually there. So that was good. And her character was fine. I liked her well enough.
No, I mean, again, what I've seen of it so far, I thought she was great in the role. I mean,
Batista, I think his acting is fine.
Yeah. No,
I believe he's in pain.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't think anyone's ever going to think of him as being like, a Orson Welles type actor, right?
No.
But, he's good in the roles he portrays, right? Like, he's this good, strong man. He's this good family man. I fully believe him in that role.
Yeah. And then it's everyone else from, like, other than those two actors, they're all kind of flat-ish. They're, like I said before when Mike was here, wish you were here, Mike. There's the one guy who played Shades in Luke Cage. I guess he's believable as a jerk. But yeah, I mean, not getting too much, because we're not going to spend the whole podcast on this into the whole plot. Entertainment value, it was fine, but I felt like it was dragged on by a lot of, like I said, characters who aren't that likable, a lot of elements that I felt could have been better utilized, and I was just kind of tired by the end of it. So, and the one thing I noted was that the main thing this movie has in common with Zack Snyder's other most, I guess, lamented film is that, which would be Sucker Punch, was that he's also the writer. Like the main writer.
Yeah, a completely original story as opposed to some of the other films which are based off of other source material. Honestly, compared to the Snyder Cut of Justice League, it's a totally different.
Yeah, you can really see that. I mean, like him or not, Chris Terrio had a big part in writing what happened in Justice League, the Snyder one.
For comparison, I watched the Snyder Cut. First of all, I watched it twice, but I watched it both times entirely in one sitting. It kept my attention for that entire 4 hours. Yeah. This did not.
Yeah. Nothing else need be said. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Snyder, good visual filmmaker, writer. Have someone check his work, please.
I do want to say, like, there's this sort of idea among Snyder fans that he's infallible. He's the next Kubrick. He's not. He's a great director. He's got his moments where he's spectacular, but to say he's the greatest or to say he's in that league is just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's very common on especially the internet for people to just wholly invest themselves into somebody or something. And I mean, you're probably almost never going to be able to reason with those people. They have to realize it themselves. But either way, meh.
Hard to agree. So we've got a decent amount of time to fill here. We're live. What else has been going on since we've been out of quarantine?
Oh, well, maybe we could talk about this briefly. There was a couple trailers for 2 Marvel movies, because we always talk about Marvel and DC. We'll get to DC later. There was The Eternal.
We talk about Image, too. Just check out our last podcast.
Oh, yeah. We just posted one on Invincible. I wasn't in it, but he was. So if you're interested in that, obviously go look at that. What was I going to say? There was The Eternals and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So The Eternals...
a little bit older, but yeah.
I'm just going to give this to you really, really short because I really don't have much to say at all. Just so we can cover it. The Eternals trailer. It doesn't grab me.
I mean, we've made a million jokes about this, but like the idea that they haven't interfered until now.
Yeah.
Come on. like it's like Loki basically tried to take over the planet. Ultron tried to eliminate all of human life on Earth. Thanos literally did destroy half of the universe.
Yeah. And then they're like, here we come, heavenly angels to save humanity. Y'all look generic as hell.
What possible threat could they be facing that Thanos is like minimal in comparison?
Like, even if it was Galactus, Thanos was a bigger threat.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way. Yeah, threat to all life.
No, I mean, you think about it, there's, 7 billion people on the Earth? How many people exist in the Marvel Universe? It's got to be way more than 7 billion. Yeah.
The only thing I would say that intrigues me about it is the large biceps of Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, yeah.
He really
transformed the role. Like, I remember seeing the Instagram post from, 2019 where he, was, bodybuilding for this thing. And he looks totally different.
Yeah. I get the feeling he's really trying hard to be a leading man.
Yeah.
Well, while he's hot.
Well, it's like...
Hot as in, he's in the big movie.
I remember just growing up with him being the nerdy guy in Portlandia and the nerdier guy in Silicon Valley. And
I only know him as the failed comedian in Twilight Zone.
Yes. And basically in any role, he's just like an average dude. But
and playing second fiddle to Dwayne Johnson, I think, in one movie?
Oh, yeah. I know exactly which movie you're talking about. It was Dave Bautista in the...
yeah, Bautista.
What was it? Stuber.
Yeah, a taxi movie.
Stu plus Uber.
Yeah.
Actually not a bad movie. It's a decent amount of fun. Another, just good hour and a half.
And then you have Angelina Jolie reprising her role as Maleficent in this film.
Yeah, again, we did this whole breakdown of who the Eternals were a year ago when they first announced it.
To the best of our understanding, and then we posted the video and a bunch of people got mad that it was clickbait. Listen, I tried to explain it.
They're just the Marvel version of the New Gods. We could have saved 11 minutes of your life just by saying that, but yeah.
And then Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings I didn't even look at, so
I saw it. It's they introduced the Mandarin. He's the
real Mandarin?
Yeah, real Mandarin.
Not Trevor, whatever he was.
Slattery. But no, it's 99% confirmed that this is the real Mandarin, unless they try to pull that again.
So Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, right?
I mean, you'd have to assume if look, it's an Iron Man villain classically, but is RDJ really going to bring it back for some random solo film? Probably not. Yeah, so I never thought of Shang-Chi as being a main component in the Mandarin universe, but I guess in the actual comics, the Mandarin is his father in some iterations, so whatever, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. But as a movie trailer, does it excite
you? I mean, I'll see it, but it's no, it doesn't really grab me. Eternals was admittedly more entertaining than this. Eternals really grabbed my interest a little more. You saw Eternals, it didn't really stretch you, so what does that say?
I mean, it was a lot of kind of colorless landscapes. Well, not colorless, but there's something with Marvel, and I had mentioned this before, cinematography, where it looks like they want it to be colorful, but then it's slightly desaturated, and the contrast is lowered or something. I don't know. It's weird. It looks a little washed out.
It just reminds me of that whole Kevin Feige comment from the Oscars this past year. He hired this director, Kathy Ann, who directed Nomadland was the movie she won the Oscar for. And he was like, I've never seen this realistic landscape. She actually shot real film. This wasn't CGI. This was real. He's never seen this before, John.
I will say there are a couple Marvel movies that actually look colorful. You have Thor Ragnarok, Guardians, both of them, and Black Panther was pretty colorful.
Aside from the really terrible CGI moments, yeah. Infinity War, admittedly, I thought had pretty good cinematography. But yeah, so I mean, it's something that they're capable of. It's something that they're capable of bringing good directors out for. At least when it comes to Shang-Chi, I'm interested to learn more about the character because I really know nothing about the character. It strikes me as a typical kung fu movie. I'm interested to see the whole father-son dynamic between the Mandarin and this new hero, right? What else can you really say about it? I mean, you didn't see
I can't say anything. All I can say is that I mean, even narrative-wise, Eternals, it's like it's very floaty. Uh, what's the word? Like almost aphorisms. It's like very typical cliche trailer lines. Like, "We've been watching you, but now the time has come. We are here. Yeah, yeah. What's the story?"
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got to say about that.
I mean, that's really all you can say about it. It's a 2-minute trailer.
Yeah. Insert angry commenters saying what it really is here.
No, I mean, guaranteed, the second we post this to any of our podcasting platforms or YouTube or wherever we want to go with this long-form video, we're going to get some angry Marvel fans saying how we don't understand the true essence of this story.
You know what? I don't. I am just a filthy DC smelly guy.
We don't play favorites.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
Oh no! We said it was desaturated. So is Snyder's movies. But here's the difference. Those have contrast.
You know, funnily enough, I listened to this podcast the other day from this one podcast group that I listen to pretty regularly.
Us?
Well, not us, but another group of assholes, basically with a similar concept.
We're
right?
barely Irish.
And these particular assholes were talking about Zack Snyder and ranking his films and talking about how terrible of a director he is. I mean, you see where I'm going with this, because they were talking about how terrible his visual style is and how just, Man of Steel is just a terrible, overrated movie.
No, it's a very decent film. Not perfect.
I really question how anyone could look at... They talked about the Snyder Cut, too, as just being like a desaturated mess. It wasn't good. It was fan bait. What is wrong with people that they can't look at this movie objectively?
It's weird that you would call it fan bait because, by all indications, the reason why it didn't exist in the first place was because it was kind of fan repellent, right? Like, the old, we'll call them classic DC fans, think of all those heroes as bright, colorful, hopeful, optimistic, and let's be frank, it's all Christopher Reeve's fault.
Right.
No, Richard Donner's fault. Well, when I say fault, I mean it's because that worked so well in the time that it came out. That became everyone's idea of what DC ought to be like. Whereas Snyder, he's taking a different approach, and over time, especially with the journey that it went through, it developed its own fan base.
Right.
So you can't really call it fan base because it was all filmed before that happened.
Well, he's going for realism more than anything else, right? Like, the thing that stood apart with Man of Steel was, it's a darker version of Superman, but he's trying to say this is what Superman would actually look like if he existed in the real world. He's not going for some idolized version of Smallville, some idolized, comic book version of this reality. So he's really striving for something that we really haven't seen in comic book movies before.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't have necessarily the mass appeal that Marvel has, but it's his own vision. You can't fault him for that.
Yeah, it's going to make some people mad, and that's fine if it's trying to make a point. I know Snyder gets criticized sometimes where he thinks he's too smart for the kind of stuff that he does, but it works for me most of the time. And, I mean, DC has been dark plenty. Like, come on. Yeah, the 90s, of course, with Death of Superman, Nightfall, Hal Jordan going crazy and becoming Parallax, eliminating the whole core.
Tower of Babel, end of 90s or early 2000s.
What is that?
Tower of Babel?
What happened in that?
It's the whole thing where Batman basically had this whole plan for how would simultaneously kill every member.
I actually don't know. That might have been early 2000s, but I have no clue.
Yeah, I think it was Ra's al Ghul stumbled upon the plans and basically took out each of the Justice League members because of Batman's own design.
Yeah. And then
that might have been early 2000s.
Then there was Blackest Night in the mid 2000s.
That was 2000.
And then recently we had Deceased and Dark Knight's Metal. Very dark, all of them. So yeah, DC does dark.
Yeah.
But something lighter, on a lighter note, Superman and Lois. It's still good.
That's an important caveat.
Our update on it. I still like it so far. Big spoiler, if you haven't been up to date on it. So Captain Luthor, we were talking about, who could he really be? Is he an Alexander Luthor, some kind of alternate? Why is he a different race?
To be fair, it's 2 episodes earlier, right? That they made this whole reveal, right? Because it was episode 5.
Yeah, I actually didn't see the last one yet.
Episode 6, they expand on it a little bit. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to ruin it for you. But basically, episode 5, they reveal that the real name of Captain Luthor is John Henry Irons.
He's Steel! Shaq is back! Yeah!
And again, I mentioned to you, I thought this was really just an Easter egg, right? I don't think they're really going to go full out Steel on this, but
I hope they do. My prediction is that there'll be a turnaround. Well, I guess there are, how many episodes in now? 7?
6 was the last
6.
one.
So there's going to be 15. So they're just about halfway through. I think by the end of it, he'll turn around and become a good guy and have like or at least I hope. It's my hope that he'll have like the full silver armor.
I'm trying. I really don't want to ruin the new episode for you, but like I will say the relationship between this version of Superman and Steel, or John Henry Irons, if you want to call him that. I mean, that's really what else would you call
John
him?
Henry Irons, based on the folklore character John Henry Irons or John Irons. There's a folklore character where it's like a guy who worked on a railroad. Real character.
I believe you. I just have no idea what you're talking about.
We'll Wikipedia it later.
But basically the relationship does expand a bit, right? Like there seems to be a mutual trust between them by the end of episode 6, and I don't want to go through like what details transpired because it's like an interesting progression in over the course of that episode that leads to that mutual trust. But yeah.
So were they or were they not? Obviously, they were copying Thor directly when he holds his hand out and his steel hammer comes into his hand.
Yeah, no, it's like literally keyframe for keyframe, exactly that animation.
Yeah, he's like, here's the thing. You're not the man of steel. Vroom, vroom, dang. I am. Awesome moment. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
I will say, I didn't make the connection immediately, because I'm not like a diehard Superman fan like you are, between John Henry Irons and Steel.
Yeah,
like,
so
I knew they were referencing something, but I couldn't place my finger on it.
So what we do know about why he's called Captain Luthor, and this makes sense, because to me, his, like, the black armored suit looks like a Lexo suit. But just decolored.
It struck me as like him trying to pay homage to Lex Luthor, either in this world or in his original world. I'm guessing Lex Luthor in his world was like
a good guy.
Like, yeah, he probably knew that Superman was going to turn bad eventually, much like our Luthor, except
Yeah. So the reason was because it was made for that universe's Luthor, and so the AI is coded to, I guess, recognize Lex Luthor, and so he just calls himself that to trick it. That's it.
Well, I mean, they sort of like again, I'm trying not to reference too much of the new episode if you haven't seen it, but it's like you sort of get the sense that he programmed it to recognize him as Captain Luthor. It didn't originally recognize him as Captain Luthor because he creates a new profile that is John Henry Irons by the end of it, so it recognizes him as his true identity by the end of the new episode. So it's like he sort of shed that mantle.
Yeah.
Again, like he makes sort of a agreement with Superman.
So he's now this universe's Iron Man.
I mean, I guess you could argue that with the Captain Luthor suit, he was sort of this universe's Iron Man, since there's no close alternative.
Yeah. There was, remember Wizard magazine?
Never read it.
So it was like this, I don't even know if it's still around, but it was popular in the 90s. It would talk about comics, and they used to have face-offs, and they'd, like, describe how they think it would go. I think it was from that comic, but they were talking about how, say, a match with Iron Man and Steel would go off. It was either Steel or Cyborg, but either way, just the funny line I'm getting to is that it said Iron Man would essentially dismantle him handily while remarking what a great piece of work his armor was. That just always makes me laugh. So,
we haven't really discussed in our initial reactions to Superman and Lois. How do you think this series will connect to the greater multiverse? I know we mentioned that it might be like an offshoot and it's supposed to be independent of the rest of the Arrowverse as we know it. But do you think they'll ever make some sort of connection between this version of Superman and the main multiverse? Or do you think it's just...
Well, we know it's years ahead, at least.
Well, again, multiverse means it could be parallel to the rest of the timeline and going on at the same time. But
in the last episode I saw, Lois and him, they briefly mentioned the fact that there was a thing that happened with the multiverse, although they only mentioned it in the context that there's another Luthor, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, these particular versions of Superman and Lois seem to be pretty ignorant of the whole, like, crisis event and whole multiverse theory as we as Arrowverse fans understand.
Well, I mean, again, even if it was connected, we saw at the end of that event that their children were just being born, right? Or not born yet, and now it's 14 years later, so it would be in the far past for them.
I feel like a fly flying in front of me.
Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah, it's... I don't know if you can see that on camera.
It's going to muck up your computer fan.
I swear, if it goes in my CPU fan, we're absolutely fucked for the rest of this thing. I will say I'm happy that the graphics card that John brought to me is actually sustaining us throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, and the camera.
I mean, that's Nothing short of nothing short of miraculous.
And that's the end of the podcast. Bye. No.
What else do you want to say?
Jordan annoys me a little. He's like, man, being Superman's son sucks so much. I hate powers.
Yeah.
Do you realize how many times I spent thinking about how cool it would be to have Superman's powers?
So I brought up the same point, like when we were just discussing this earlier.
It's a curse.
It's like, you really can't imagine what it would be like to be like an outsider who's already like ostracized from the rest of your society or rest of, I feel like I'm a college student just talking about political theory here, but you really don't know what it's like to feel ostracized from the rest of your friends group, to be completely an outsider from everyone else around you. And then to just have another thing that makes you feel alien, right?
I always wished I was an alien so that my feelings of being an outsider would be justified. I'm free.
It's nice.
I mean, don't we all? That's why we're here.
Sure.
In a basement, talking about nerd stuff. That's why you're here watching it or listening to it if you are here, indeed.
We've had, like, consistently viewers throughout this thing, so I feel like people are actually watching. Who knows if it's the exact same person or if it's just people flickering in and out. We had 3 at some point, which is nice.
Yeah. Mike brought up this point in our chat that, basically what you're saying about how he already feels alienated because of his, what do you call it, depression issues?
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but mental health, I guess, is the best word for it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you see him taking medication for it, so he already has those, like, actual diagnosed issues, we'll call it.
In the first episode, I think they call it generalized anxiety disorder.
Yeah. Yeah, they make a point of showing that he's moody and all that. So, I mean, I get it, but I feel like sometimes it's played up a bit too dramatically just to create more problems for the episode to have to solve. If you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I feel like it's slightly forced.
Right.
But, yeah. Other than that, like, take, for instance, when he's listening on his brother, and he's talking to the girl, what's her name, Sarah? Yeah. And he's like, you were talking to her, but she's my girlfriend, but not really, so now I'm mad at you. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of an invasion of his privacy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like when their brother, when he just hit the wall to, like, mess with his hearing, I'm like, good, you deserve that. But I guess you're supposed to feel that, so credit to the episode. I'm with it. I'm still with it. One thing I guess I'll talk about briefly, since I know you don't watch it, or haven't watched it, Black Lightning just had its series finale. I watched all 4 seasons. So this is really the show that did the superhero family first, before Superman and Lois. Because it had the first season where he's like, he was a hero, but then he retired, and his wife was mad at him because she's like, you're bringing danger to our family every night. I don't know if you'll come home. So it's like the flip side of Lois. Instead of supportive, she gets a divorce. And the kids go live with the mother. So then eventually, they come back around and he has to be a hero again. The city needs Black Lightning again. He comes back. So it builds up this whole vendetta with him and pretty decent villain, sometimes kind of mustache twirly, but I like him. Tobias Whale. Good actor. Really good actor. He's an actual real albino, because the character is. And I looked it up because it was always, like, weirding me out a bit. You see his eyes are, like, constantly moving back and forth, and that's a real symptom. Well, because he is really albino.
Albinism.
Yeah, it's like sometimes a side effect symptom where they have uncontrollable eye movements. But it's like somehow he uses it to add to, like, the creepiness of his stares, because he's like a big crime boss and he can really threaten anyone even without directly threatening him. He's like, yeah, that's good. You did a good job. I'll get you that thing. The moment they leave the room, have him killed in 5 minutes, but let him think that he'll get off scot-free. Stuff like that. Season 2 was like all about his daughters. I didn't like it as much, but then 3 was like this whole war arc where this fictional country learns about that there's all these meta-humans, and so they're like want to take them to make their own meta army. Then the government gets involved and there's conspiracy, all sorts of things like that. I thought it was pretty good. And then season 4, it kind of just draws back to his rivalry with the main villain, and so that kind of wraps up. But my issue with the finale was that I thought some things wrapped a bit too quickly. Like it was like they suddenly realized, oh, we're not going to have a season 5. Quick, get everything done.
So, I mentioned in our last episode, the Invincible podcast with Jack and Jake. There's a character in the Image Comics series in Invincible named Black Samson who clearly has the same power set, who clearly has a lot of the same motivation and a lot of the same pitfalls as Black Lightning. What exactly happens in season 4 that you think completely disappoints the fan base? Because I know you mentioned that there was just something about the ending in particular that just completely derails it, completely just sort of eliminates your expectations for it.
Well, you haven't seen it, and you probably won't. So I guess again, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. But so the main villain, he just kind of killed, sort of unceremoniously.
Unceremoniously.
Yeah, the fight isn't that long. It's not that fantastic. That's maybe one complaint I have with the show, that he has these lightning powers, but it's almost like they go through every possible circumstance they can to make him use his powers as little as possible. So even when he's fighting, he's just punching and kicking, but they put a little light burst effect on the punches. It's cheap. Then again, it didn't have that many viewers, so
just lazy After Effects.
Yeah. You could probably do it. Although when they do go full out with the lightning, it looks pretty good. But yeah, so he's just kind of erased, and he gets really twirly mustache towards the end. He's like, I rule everything. I'm just gonna knock you down all the way. They hint at he's part of this shadow council or something, and then that's never picked up. That's never followed up on. There's just a random people that he's answering to, and then he threatens them, and we never see them again. There's something that happens where his daughter, and she goes away for a bit, but they don't realize it, and then when she comes back, there's no real reunion. There's no satisfying conclusion to that, because I read somewhere that her scenes were filmed after everything else. That's why.
It's the Tignataro effect all over again.
Yeah. That, and then the one character who's supposed to have a spin-off series, Painkiller, not happening. So, yeah, everything was just kind of, let's tie it up. There was a sort of a love story arc going on with the father figure to Black Lightning, and then that's not mentioned again at the end. It just kind of wrapped up quickly. But it was fairly decent as far as shows that you would expect on that network go. I'm kind of getting tired of talking. I don't know if it's the beer setting in.
No, it's we did just smoke cigars right before recording this, and it's sort of drying in my throat a bit.
That too, yeah.
You have anything else you want to say before we end this thing? Because I feel like we've been rambling for the past 49 minutes, but yeah.
If you have HBO Max and you like sci-fi shows, and you don't feel like getting into the behemoth amount of episodes that is Star Trek, watch Babylon 5. I started watching that. I just finished the second season. Great series. It's not like the one episode, one and done plot, and then it resets. It's actually a series long arc that has build up and world building. You get to know the characters, and then I'm told season 3, all the shit starts going down. So pretty good show.
And if you have HBO Max and really love 90s sitcoms, The Friends Reunion just dropped on HBO Max. Check that out if you really want a heartthrobbing, just nostalgic revelation of all of your favorite friends from the 90s.
Yes. Oh, and watch Shazam so they don't take it off again for no reason.
Yeah, I think that comes out this month, actually. Is it on yet? I actually don't know if it's on yet. I know it's coming in June.
I literally, when I canceled, they're like, can you take a survey to tell us why you canceled? And in every single field where they had a write in, was like, Shazam, bring back Shazam. Where's Shazam? They own it. Why are you taking it off?
No.
You better subscribe now. You better stay subscribed, or all the content you like is going to go away. Don't do that.
It is on Amazon Prime, though, this whole time. I did buy it on Amazon Prime, a while ago.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I would just buy the Blu-ray.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Want to play the outro?
Yeah, so if you've listened this long, as always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening to us rant. Did we have any insight? If we had any insightful info at all, and you thought so, then subscribe if you haven't. Did I already say that?
I think you said that. Oh, yeah. Visit utterlynonsense.com for all of our links, for all of our social media, I guess.
Yeah, it's still a work in progress a bit, so
but all of our stuff's on there, so check it out. Utterlynonsense.com.
He worked hard on it. So definitely look at that. Don't click on our Facebook links. Don't friend.
Just Facebook's a fucking
fine, friend.
Piece of shit.
But no guarantees.
Yeah. Okay. Play the outro.
8-bit music or whatever I had queued up.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's actually played with the outro before.
Play us out.